I mean, where are you at on the committee?
Yeah, I think the committee got it right, guys. I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion today, but the first mandate of the committee is to get the four best teams, and not the four conference champions or the four undefeated teams, the four best teams. And unfortunately, what I saw from Louisville the last 2 weeks, specifically on offense, they were a shell of themselves. And in my opinion, if whether it be the Florida game or the ACC championship game this week, if Glenn or Rodemaker in any of those games had given the committee something to feel good about offensively, something more than completing 48% of their passes against a bad Florida pass defense, or 5 or 8 of 21 for 55 yards against Louisville, I think the committee would have put them in. But unfortunately, they didn't give offensively enough for the committee to justify putting them in over Alabama. So I think the committee absolutely got it right.
SEC Mike, before you go real quick, I want to address this comment we got here. The bottom of the screen says, Joshua Perry just looks stupid and he is only supporting Bama because he thinks they'll beat Michigan. No, I'm supporting Bama because they actually beat good teams this year. They beat a playoff caliber team this year, and Florida State did not. And quite frankly, to what Hudson was saying, they didn't even look like the same team. Their defense played lights out. I'll give them all the credit on that side of the football. That offense was not it. That is not a playoff caliber offense, but I'll let SEC Mike go.
Yeah, and I can speak to the T-Bob comments, why he was so down and in the dumps. He was dancing on the grave of Alabama and Georgia all Saturday, texting me. So that's where that anger and hurt is coming from. But I'll tell you guys, we're sitting here saying the committee, I agree, putting Alabama in over Florida State. But I'll tell you, the committee got it wrong, because what did Hudson just say right there? The four best teams. I don't care if Washington went undefeated, Michigan and their cheating went undefeated. Put Georgia in this field. Georgia is a top four without a doubt, and I get it. They didn't earn their way in. Well, I don't know that Alabama earned their way in, because didn't Florida State just earn their way? But apparently that doesn't matter either. It's the four best. Georgia's on the outside looking in. I don't know how they would have got Georgia Bulldogs in there, but if it's the four best, Georgia deserved to be in the conversation.
SEC Mike, that's my point too. Is the contradiction? So it's the four best, but we're going to leave Georgia out? Like, aren't they the four best?
Georgia had the opportunity to prove they were the best against Alabama.
But we're talking about the four best. But we're still talking about the four best.
They did not beat
about the four best.
Georgia did not beat a playoff caliber team all year. That's where I'm drawing the line on this one. I think it's pretty simple. The teams that have beaten playoff caliber teams this year, the four of them are in there, period.
Oregon's a playoff. Oregon's a playoff.
They finished the regular season 11-1.
They lost twice to the only team they had a chance to prove they were a playoff.
They finished the regular season 11-1. Had they beat Washington, they would have been the college football playoff.
Hudson, Mike, when did this become about the best four? Because TCU got in last year. Wasn't Bama, wasn't Tennessee? Didn't we think those teams were better than TCU? Like, all of a sudden, just this year, in these past few weeks, it was the best four.
Well, Tennessee had the Hendon Hooker thing, though. We couldn't have put them in.
I want to put them in. I'm a Tennessee grad. Put them in. But, no, I'm going off what the committee's saying. The committee's saying it, not me. This is the committee's language, the best four. And, again, is Florida State a best four? No, but they've earned their way. So they have proven they're going with the best four. And Georgia, I don't think there's a doubt in my mind they're a top four team.
Yeah, the Georgia conversation is interesting, right?
Welcome in, Rivals Down South. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go.
Welcome in, Rivals Down South. As you can tell, T-Bob's not here. I'm already screwing up the intro. He's Hudson Mason, Georgia quarterback, ESPN analyst. Carry on, Hudson. I'm sorry for cutting you off there.
No, that's my bad, guys. So what I was going to say is that the Georgia piece of that is kind of interesting to me, right? Because when you say the four best teams, it seems like the committee – I believe Georgia is one of the four best teams in the country. Better than Washington. And the committee kind of went halfway with the four best teams, but didn't go all the way with the four best teams. And it's like, if you're going to go half the way with four best teams, shouldn't we go all the way? I never thought, as soon as Georgia lost Saturday night, Louisville won, I knew they were out of the conversation. And so I never, realistically thought Georgia had a chance to get it in. But of course, there's hypocrisy littered in this, and there always has been an element of hypocrisy. If you're going to put the four best teams in, what sense does, or in your rankings in general, what sense does it have for Florida State to be ranked one spot ahead of Georgia? I mean, I still think Georgia is a better team than Florida State. So it just is. There's hypocrisy. There's no doubt about it. Everybody's mad about hypocrisy, how it doesn't make sense. And I think, when you have a playoff format that only allows 4 teams to get into your playoff format, it shows that it's pretty dumb. It's pretty antiquated. And it's going to leave a lot of people once a year. It's going to leave somebody, some fan base, some school, some coaches that probably have a strong argument and a good chance to get in, really pissed off.
I know if I was a Florida State fan, I'd be pretty pissed today, but I'm happy because that's the worst fan base in the country. We can agree on that, right?
No, absolutely not.
Who's worse than Florida State fans? Maybe you'd probably say Michigan.
Well, the last couple of years, they've been going a little bit crazy.
Look, I got an issue with Florida State because, hey, that was the last game of my college career, and I tore my dang ACL in that game, so I got beef with them anyways, but I was still on their side here. But, Hudson, I'm just thinking about, what you're saying with the committee contradicting itself. And this is probably my issue because going forward, even with the expanding playoff, like the principle of this doesn't exactly change because we're letting, humans basically subjectively pick and choose who they believe to be is the best 4. And I think we need to rethink this system going forward, have a little bit more structure. I don't know the plan going forward, but this is what I would expect when you're just having a group of individuals choose the best 4. And again, my issue is like this all of a sudden was the way that they were going to choose the Final 4 this year. I've never heard that argument be as rigid as it is anywhere in the past few years in the 14 playoff.
I struggle with that because they've made it clear how they feel about injuries, and that's one of the things that they can consider. And the other thing that people are acting like one of the things the committee said is if you are an undefeated Power 5 conference champ, that you must be in the college football playoff. And the reality of the situation is that never made any damn sense to begin with because there are 4 spots for 5 power conferences. What they all went undefeated, then what? Right? Like, that's the wild part about that premise. People are acting like they had to be in there. The other thing that we're relying on, which really bothers me, is this idea that because Florida State was undefeated, that they need to be in. Not all schedules are created equally. Not all conferences are created equally. And I can say, without a shadow of the doubt, that the fact that they do not have a top 12 win in the final rankings, the strength of schedule is not up to par with the rest of the teams in there. That is enough for me to know that 13-0 with somebody else's schedule could have easily been a 12-1 and 11-2. That's the reality of the situation.
So next year, we're going to have to remember this next year because the Big Ten, when you look at that schedule, it is going to be an absolute gauntlet. They have one more conference game than SEC teams. So guess what? There's going to be some Big Ten teams with 2 losses that are tough. Maybe even 3 losses, but they might have 5 ranked wins. It seriously could be that brutal and that competitive in the Big Ten where teams are playing 8 or 9 top 25 matchups. So you might have 3 losses, but you'll have 5 or 6 ranked wins. By that logic, then that team should still get in this year since it's not just about the final record.
I think a 3-loss team is getting in the new format.
Yeah, I'm not for sure, guys, if 12 teams really fixes it. Maybe there's something coming down the tracks that I can't see. It seems as though on the surface, like, hey, maybe we won't have to argue about this as much, or maybe, all the deserving teams that deserve to get in will get in. But, one of the things that kind of has drove me nuts is the analogy or the comparison to 2014 Ohio State, right, and how they blew Wisconsin out with their 3rd-string quarterback. And it's such a bad analogy and a bad example to me, in my opinion, because, number one, they won 59-0. And number 2, Cardero Jones did kind of the exact opposite what Tate Rodemaker or Brock Glenn did. They played well. Like, in that game, the 3rd-string quarterback, Cordero Jones, in 2014 threw for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. And so if Glenn or Rodemaker had played any resemblance of that type of game against Florida or against Louisville, I think the committee puts them in. I think the committee was sitting there begging, looking for a reason to put Florida State in. And offensively, they just looked at it and they said, we can't justify that that's one of the 4 best teams right now without their Heisman Heisman type quarterback. So when that comparison is made to Ohio State as to why Florida State should get in, I just think it's a bad one.